Peter Bolger, Selector extraordinaire in 1999. How's things?
Things are good, Tom.
Good man. Okay, Peter, 25 years on, we're looking back at the year that was. What are your memories of that year getting involved? How did it come to pass that you were selected for Kilglass?
I became involved because Charlie, the then chairman, asked me would I become a selector with both Parks and Jimmy, the boss. And it was a very exciting time because I knew you had potential in the team, but could the lads be put together as a unit that would create their own piece of history for that particular year? And that's exactly what these lads did. Now there were some great characters in it, some mighty characters in it, and I'll go through that after a while. So that's my impression of what it was. Now Jimmy was unique because Jimmy was a teacher and he brought an aura about him of, I'm Jimmy Gaquin. He didn't have to say, you're going to do it my way. You did it his way. Because Jimmy trained and coached the team. Parks and me stood on, and that's changed completely now. It's a totally different game. It's whoever you have involved, they're involved in everything in the team. But Jimmy was his own boss, but he commanded respect. Very nice, very sincere, very honest man, and he came across even to the players. He never gave out to the players. He just spoke to them. I remember one little occasion where Porrick Nugent, who was his famous photograph on Tommy Cox's wall, you know, you think that Porrick Nugent was a great footballer looking at that, but my memory of Porrick Nugent is simply as him always falling. I'm only kidding. Porrick was a great player, and proved it in the final and in the previous games. But Jimmy had an aura about him, and you'd listen to him. You had no choice, you'd listen to him. He had your attention, and he set things in motion, and he set time in motion as well too. You had to be there. You had no choice, you had to be there. But as well as that, you wanted to be there. I look at Vinnie Murphy and say, Vinnie himself had several conversations. Vinnie Murphy was a man that when I was involved with Kilglass, he made an outrageous boo-boo above the game, and he had no choice, I had to take him off. And Jimmy says, Vinnie says, I knew I was never going to get back again. But we sat down in the pub the Sunday night afterwards and say, Vinnie says, I have my county final, and I says, I'm very happy that you have, because you put in a sight of work, and he did. But going back to Jimmy Gaquin, like, Jimmy had a pedigree. Bridget's even now is still the Colossus in Roscommon GA. That's where everybody, all good players come from Bridget. And there's great players in all other clubs, but when you're playing with better players, you play better football. There's more pressure on you. Going back to our Kilglass lads, there was a bunch of lads there that were playing football, but weren't playing as a team the years before that. But Jimmy brought the whole lot together. Like he was a tremendous manager. I remember one time we came to training, Parks myself would always be there, of course, and we'd be talking and yapping on the sideline. And there was two very important players missing. There was Joey Casey and Porrick Nugent missing. And Jimmy, come over here lads, will you go up and see where them Amadons are? So we headed off in the car, and of course I wouldn't have known the particular area, but Parks knew, when you don't go this way, we'll go that way. I went up to Slata, and here was Nugent on a tractor. Hey, get down, training, yeah, I should be there. If you don't go down, you're gone, he says. Well, you're gone, Jimmy says. And we went over after Casey. Here was Casey up on the side of a building. Jimmy watching the field now. Dropped all and came. And that happened. I remember another occasion. Dermot Washington, whom we all know is a great footballer, and Dermot came not tugged out. And I said, there's going to be war here. Next thing I seen Jimmy calling Dermot over. What's wrong? I have shin splints. Go in and get your togs and boots. Have your togs and boots? But no, go in and get them. Dermot went off, wagging the head. But he came back in and I don't know whether he was hurt or not, And that's only Dermot can say that, but that was Jimmy. You did it for Jimmy Gatlin. Now, going to the game was in a quagmire in Ballinameen. A quagmire, and it wasn't the people that are in charge of that that thought. It was just an awful wet weekend that weekend. And I seen the lads warming up, and they were actually nearly to their shin in muck. And I said, these lads will be dead before the game. Anyway, it's just amazing. I think it was roughly 124 sessions. 124 sessions. And that's done to the lads. Now, should Kilglass have won? Not a chance. Not a chance. 25 wides St. Michael's had. 25 wides. But Jim Tice scored a couple of goals. I think there was another fella called Tom Tully. I think he scored a goal and a point.
So legend has it, alright.
Oh, the legend. Oh no, he's calling himself a legend now. Tom Tully the legend. That's a new one. Dermot, you're gone from the platform now, Dermot. You're gone from the platform. But I'll go back to a couple of the players. Like you had Sean Davis in goals. Very solid. Great kick out. Raymond Lannon. Very solid and full back. The other two lads beside him. Thomas Ty and Vinny. Centre half back, Tommy Dean, sure. A ship wouldn't go by Tommy Dean. Tommy Dean was just a colossus on the field. And his wing half backs were superb. Now, in midfield, Joey Casey and Pride Nugent, absolutely class. Absolutely class. Class players. Joey Casey, in my opinion, was one of the he was a player that was bordering on county. Only he didn't know how to push himself that bit further. Pride Nugent is a legend. We always see the photograph. Him falling and him roaring at the referee for a free. And that's my memory of Pride Nugent. But in fairness, Pride Nugent was a great footballer. A very, how would I call it? A unique footballer. His own way of kicking the ball, his own way of soloing, and he got the job done. To me, the game was around 3 players. I thought young Tom Marston was he was sheer class. And when Adrian Lannan came on, the combination that them two lads had, and Jim Tice scoring the goals, and yourself, Tom, and Nigel Bushell and Trevor, that was a class outfit. I was just talking to Charlie there this evening, and the difference in that team now is just every single one of the players were class footballers.
Very good. So it was a long year, Peter and Jimmy, and obviously Paris and yourself all gelled well. So final whistle went. We had done what seemed impossible. Can you remember much about that time?
Well, it was. I remember it in disbelief, because I said to myself, it happened in a shock. The 2 goals that Jim Ty got just destroyed St. Michael's, and it lifted everyone, and everyone played immense. That final whistle was just enormous. Everyone was running on the field, congratulations the lads, everybody, and it was a tremendous achievement, but it was well earned. I remember 124 training sessions. It was savage work, in hail, rain and snow, out bringing fellas from Joey Casey and Nugent and Dermot. As I go back, Jimmy deserves all the credit. He was the class manager. I cannot understand how he never went on to coach a senior county team, because to me he was a manager waiting to happen. But going back to the celebrations were just fantastic. They were just, it was just enormous. Like you had all the old characters that were there that wouldn't have seen anything like that. Anthony McHugh, Christy Hoy, Tommy Kilcran, Frank Flanagan, Parks, all the fellas that I can remember there. It was just enormous. Paddy McHugh, who would work, Seamus Lannan, all these lads, some are alive and some are gone. But they worked enormous hard and the pitch that we had to work on out there was tremendous. And what's happened since has been fantastic. But of course, a lot of this credit goes down to Charlie Reynolds. Charlie was the man with the vision, and he seen So we had players. We needed to bring them together as a football team, and that's what Charlie did. And I was delighted to be involved in that. And the celebrations, Tom, went on for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I don't think it in now, but by golly, I took a lot that time.
We enjoyed ourselves.
We did surely, Tom. We did surely.
And 25 years later, looking back, Peter, how would you summarise, if you had to, the whole year, the experience, the effect it has had on your life and the rest of us since then?
Well, I can say thank God for the talent these guys had at that stage, and it's so great to be involved in that. It taught me an awful lot. It taught me, that if you have somebody that's very good at the helm, and that fellas will look at and look up to, you have a chance of success. And Jimmy bred and installed in all of us, in me as well too. Thank God I went on to a career of enjoying managing football teams, and I have to say that most of it is down to what Jimmy Gagman taught me. And I'm so thrilled that this occasion has taken place, because you can think about them now and again, but to have all the lads there together this night and celebrate this night will be fantastic. I have one lasting memory of this, and it's Tommy Kilglass, our old friend. And Tommy Kilglass, after the final, after the whistle, he brought up the accordion, and he must have played in Cox's for about 20 hours. 20 hours. But Tommy had a nickname on Jimmy Gagman. He used to call him Jack Quinn.
That's right.
Jack Quinn. Do you remember that, Tom?
I do.
And that will never leave. Never leave. And I say, all those that are gone, that I hope they're all resting in peace. And those of us that are still alive, I hope we can enjoy to see something good happen to Kilglass Gaels in the future again.
Here, here. Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
Up the Gaels. Up the Gaels.